Welcome to New Tracks Modeling. New Tracks provides unique mentoring opportunities to enhance your modeling skills by connecting with talented modelers and manufacturers from around the globe who generously share their knowledge and artistic expertise. Build your confidence, refine modeling techniques, and share your projects with a supportive community of fellow modelers, all while enjoying the world's most rewarding hobby. Join us every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern on Zoom and YouTube for our free live program. Missed a program? No problem. Individual show segments are uploaded to YouTube for convenient on-demand viewing. Be sure to connect with the New Tracks community by joining the New Tracks Facebook page where you can interact with other modelers and see what they are modeling. Visit our website at www.newtracksmodeling.com, where you'll find information about upcoming events and the latest issue of our magazine, New Tracks Modeler. New Tracks Modeler features articles from builds on the show, exciting new products, and other great articles. And now, here is the host of New Tracks Modeling, Tom Farrell.
Good evening, and welcome to New Tracks Modeling, streaming live on Zoom and YouTube, just as we do every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern. We're pleased you're here, and whether you're a seasoned modeler, new to the hobby, or just enjoy the show, we welcome you. This broadcast, along with our 5 other platforms, which include the program you're watching live now, our New Tracks website, our New Tracks Facebook page, the New Tracks Mentoring Scholarship Program, and our New Tracks Modeler digital magazine, is part of a broader vision created by Jim Kello, Master Model Railroader and New Tracks Mentor. All platforms are free of charge and are supported by a dedicated team of volunteers who are passionate about the hobby. Before we board our first-class train tonight, we want to sincerely thank Brennan's Model Railroading for sponsoring this evening's program.
Tonight's New Tracks Modeling Meetup is sponsored by Brennan's Model Railroading. For over 25 years, Brennan's Model Railroading has been offering unique products focused on the O-scale market. Their flagship product, Brennan's Better Ballast, was an instant hit and continues to be the industry leader. The prototypical size and natural color blend of real crushed granite make it the choice for discerning modelers. Since then, Brennan's has developed a complementary line of natural ground cover materials. Brennan's also has craftsman kits that anyone can build. The complete photographically illustrated instructions assume you've never done this before, and explain in step-by-step detail how to create an outstanding model. The Frank Ellison Tribute series of kits are amazing additions to any layout. These kits take Frank Ellison's scratch-built iconic structures to a new level using modern methods and materials with Dennis Brennan's additional details and amazing instructions. See the complete line of products on the Brennan's Model Railroading website. Use the QR code to visit.
I encourage everybody to support our sponsors. Dennis Brennan in particular is the sponsor of the show. Dennis will be on the show this evening presenting his layout. We'll get to that in a moment here. But take a moment, check out Dennis's website and check out his products. And as you know, this past month I did a Watch Me Build on one of Dennis's signature series, the Gilbert Powerhouse substation. And I believe that discount's still going on. So the kit list for $159.95. If you type in NEWTRX, you'll get a $20 discount. And that brings it down to $139.95. And believe me, having personally built that kit, and everybody knows I'm a scratch builder, I can tell you that that kit is universal. It's good for a beginner, and it's good for master model railroaders. All kinds of interesting techniques in there. So now let's take a look at what's coming down the main line on tonight's show. First up, as I indicated, is Dennis Brennan. He's going to give us a tour of half of his personal layout, O-scale high rail. And then in the Master Modeler series, we've got David, our longtime participant and has presented in the past. This is part 2, scratch building an ON30 locomotive. Then I'm going to do something a little interesting. Outhouses on the rustic buff and old Gothic. I'm going to give you a little history. How exciting, eh? Of outhouses, and then show you some prototypes, and then show you the ones that are on my model railroad, and then one that I recently built. And then returning after uh, roughly a month in presenting is Steve Sherril. He's going to have an open forum. What's on your workbench? And he's got several of our participants, normal participants lined up. So we got an exciting show this evening. And let's, before we roll into the first segment, let's spotlight our New Tracks Modeling Scholarship Program.
Millhouse River Studio builds model train working accessories that are made to last generations.
Okay.
Millhouse River products are built out of aluminum and have scale brass details that even the most demanding scale modeler will appreciate. Since our industry entry in 2009 with the introduction of our flagship turntable, Millhouse River has continued to add new, innovative products, like our scale transfer table, rotary coal dumper, flood coaling tower and, most recently, a working conveyor that transports coal from the dumper to the loader. All of Millhouse River Studio's stunningly realistic products are currently available in O scale. We are adding new scales on some products, including the upcoming release of an HO scale turntable featuring our aluminum construction and stunning brass details that is big enough to handle a big boy locomotive. When it comes to your layout, don't settle for less, get Millhouse River Studio.
Sorry, that was my error. If I could just read my own program. Well, now I'd like to have Dennis Brennan. Welcome him to the show. Dennis, welcome. Can't hear you. Can't hear you. Dennis, you're muted. There
Sorry
you
about that.
go. Welcome
all
to
right.
the show, Dennis.
Thank you. You can hear me all right now?
Yes, sir. And
All right. One small correction, Tom. That is not my personal layout. It is a layout that I was asked to redo the scenery on. So I do scenery on layouts, and I've got layouts that I've worked on in Florida and Delaware here, and in December I'm going to Long Island to work on one. But with that said, let's go ahead and show the first picture.
yeah, Phil.
Okay. Well, this was an O-scale high rail layout. Do the first slide. Well, not that. That's my building, of course. Thanks for the ad.
That was just a little plug for you.
Yeah, thank you. All right. Now, what you see here is in the basement of this gentleman's very large home. And all the finished scenery that you see is what I did. However, I didn't do the paintings on the walls. That was already there. This layout was already scenic. At least what you can see was scenic when I came in. However, it did not look like this. It was very simply done. I guess simply, I mean, the gentleman who did it had only been doing this for 5 years, and the results that he had was not what he actually envisioned in his head. All right, go to the next one. All right, so now if you look at this, this is the right-hand side of that layout that you were looking at. What was here when I came in was the roundhouse. if you can see that. And this little engine shed. And there was a very tiny road that went along here. This was not the road that was there. And the rest of this was empty, save for, I think, maybe these two tanks, but it was just bare. It was bare plywood. So when I came in, I had to figure out what we were going to do. He had a lot of things that, a lot of pieces that he had been trying there, and he just couldn't figure out what he wanted to put there. Nothing seemed to work for him. And so he brought pieces out, and the first thing that I did was I looked at the layout of everything, and I looked at what he had, and I decided with his approval that this oil depot here would be what you want to, where we would start. And so go to the next one. Okay, so now here is another view from the other side of where we were. And this looks at the back side of that oil depot and the turntable and roundhouse. Now, all of the scenery around the turntable is what I put in. That's my Superior Sand, where you see that little blue truck. All this area around the turntable, and all of this ballasting, all of this was all put in by me. And all of the scenery surrounding the buildings and whatnot, I put in. Next one. You should, yeah, there we go. All right, so the oil depot, here's one of the things that I think a lot of people get hung up on, and especially like the gentleman I'm working with. Where do you start? And he had the right idea, like the road that you saw before that ran along the tracks. It was a great idea. But there was a couple things that he didn't think about. And one is, where does that road come from and where did that road go? So my first thing was I connected that road up with this oil depot. We have to cross the tracks. You need to be able to get there. So if you have a spot on your layout, and I think this is important, you can build a layout. You start out with a blank sheet if you haven't drawn it up, and a lot of us don't. They just lay out the track and you've got a blank piece of plywood. Now what do? Where do you start? Start with placing one thing, and usually there'll be something that you belong someplace. And if you don't know, then just pick a spot. Pick something like a switch tower. Pick a station, or put an industry on one of your sidings. Once you have started there and you've placed one item, now the rest of the thing has to follow along. And what do I mean by that? What I mean is, once you put the oil depot in here, now you need a way to get to it. Okay, you need a road that's going to service it. So, next slide. Can we do the next one? Hello, Tom. Oh, here we go. So here's this road. Now what did I do here? He had a very narrow road and it was painted pretty much black. And he had the right idea. Like I said, the road traveled along the track. but it didn't go anywhere and it didn't come from anywhere. It was just there, which there's nothing wrong with that, but you need to draw your viewer into a scene. Now, what did I do here? What he did do, which I really liked, is he had I think it was 1 inch piece of foam, pink foam that he had laid down, and it had been covered with basically static grass. That wasn't really static. It was just laying there. Well, and what he did is he put the pink foam down and then he covered it with the plaster cloth and then he put the static grass on there. Well, I took the plaster cloth off and left the foam and then started from there. Now he had already had I just shaped that angle a little bit and I added scenery along there. I widened the road, and I just went all the way along the edge of the layout. Go ahead, go to the next shot. Okay, now this is another view. So I came along that road, and now you can clearly see where the rest of the scenery went. From that road, I did gravel areas, the floodlight towers have big bases on them because they're basically I think they're Lionel floodlight towers. So we painted the base like kind of a concrete color. I did, and then I blended it in with scenery, and the turntable is down lower than the road is because it's at the wood level basically. And so that's actually kind of nice because the road is up a little bit higher than everything else. And I kind of like that. Anytime you can give yourself a little bit of elevation makes a big difference. And Tom, the gentleman, had that idea. His tracks, he had put, like I said, 1 inch of foam over everything so that the tracks were down a little bit lower. That avoided the flat tabletop look. You can see all of the greenery and everything else. That's what I did. The buildings, other than the roundhouse, I put in that little freight station that's right alongside the road. It's that little green building. I put that in. That wasn't a building he had laying around too. Next slide. Okay, now here, this is kind of important. Like I said, he had a road that went around the layout, but it didn't come from anywhere and it didn't go anywhere. Well, you have to think about avoiding, or let's say you need to not box yourself in. All right? Don't box yourself in. In fact, please violate the edge of your layout. The edge of the layout shouldn't be the edge of the world. So what I did is I brought that road out and I did it in another spot too, which we'll see later. This is the edge of the layout. What you're seeing right there, where the road ends in the foreground is the edge of the layout. And you'll also notice that it goes back at an angle and then it also angles to the left. Well, why is it angling to the left? Well, it's going over and connecting, giving us a way to get into that switch tower. Now, the switch tower was there. Tom had it there. It was a great place for it. The water tank was there. That also made sense considering everything else that was there. So I just connected the elements. Now, where the road goes over these two tracks, and then there's that third track back there. That's the siding that goes into the roundhouse. And then just over that third track to the right, that's where the road goes into the oil depot. And then to the left, we swing over across the tracks and get into the switch tower. Now, what was really interesting for me was we were sitting there eating lunch one day, and we were sitting right in this spot. Tom was actually sitting in this spot, and he happened to be looking this direction, looking right down that road, and said, "Wow, I never realized, I didn't notice that, but that road leads you right into the layout." And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "That's amazing." And it was like a realization he had. And so I think that's really important. Think about ways that you can extend your layout beyond the framework. Violate that frame. Don't get stuck. Don't box yourself in. And if you do that, it does make a big difference. And I think this shot proves that really well. Okay, go to the next shot. Okay, now this is the back end of the layout. The road that he had did come over to where you see that powerhouse is. The powerhouse was there, the roundhouse was there, the coal elevator was there, and that was it. So I worked with that, and I added the little freight building there, and I added another little building over on the other side of the road. And then I figured out, this road also comes in from the edge of the layout. So now, instead of a road that just kind of exists and comes from nowhere and goes nowhere, we've got a road that connects to the outside of the layout. I mean, there's other things, and your mind will expands the view. So that's something that you really need to think about. The other thing I really like what he did is he coved the corners. That's really nice when you can do that. And he has 072 on the outside, and I think it's I'm not sure. Anyway, he runs big boys all the time on this. Now, I don't know, is there any other shots here? Okay, yeah. Now, this is another example. There was no scenery around this roundhouse at all, and the roundhouse is lower than everything else. So I just sloped the ground here, and I added trees and bushes and weeds. And I also back here on the far side of the roundhouse in this picture is a way to go from this road in the foreground to get to the roundhouse for employees. So if you think about building always needs parking either for the public or for employees or both, that's another place to get you to think about how you're going to get there and what you need to do to get there. And once you start thinking that way, everything will fall into place. So I think, is that the last slide? Yeah. All right. Thank you. Any questions?
How long did it take you to from beginning to end to scenic that layout?
Well, on that first side that you saw that we looked at, I think I worked on that. There was a train collectors, Lionel Train Collectors Operating Society lots, or Lionel Operating Train Collectors. Yeah, that's what it is, I guess. Lots was coming to town, and he needed to get that done. And so I think I worked on that. 1, 2, about 4 to 6 weeks to get that done.
Daily, yeah.
Yes, I worked every day. I worked Monday through Friday, 8 hours a day.
And how large of a layout is that? What is the dimensions?
Oh, God.
Roughly.
That room, that room is the size of a 3-car garage.
Okay.
So that's pretty big. And then so I worked on that. And then I went back and I worked on the other side of the layout. He liked what I did. See, he had scenic on the other side too. But he liked what I did was what he envisioned in his head, but he didn't have he didn't have the experience to do it. He
So
had the right ideas.
he had somebody construct that layout on his behalf. Is that?
Yes, he he had carpenters come in and build the layout, and then he had there were several train guys who helped him, I think, with the track plan. And then he put the track down, and then he did all the scenery.
Oh, yeah.
You'll see when we do the next segment of it, the next time I'm on, he did all these mountains and stuff. And the work that he did was not bad. It just was what it was. I mean, if you know what he didn't have any experience, and he knew it. And this is not his favorite thing to do. So now I'm the guy who's going to be doing. I basically redid all of the scenery, but he had a great idea for layout. He's a builder, retired now, but he builds $1 million homes. And he's really good at what he calls the hardscape. I do the landscape. He does the hardscape. That's what he called it. Now, the hardscape is basically laying stuff out. He likes to do that. And when we show the next go round, I'll show a farm scene that he did, which I thought was wonderful, the way he had it laid out. And he had all the elements there. It's just that I came in and I enhanced it. Let's put it that way. And he's a good guy. He's got a good eye. He knows what he likes. And so we work together on this. But anyway, anything else? Any other questions?
Does he consider the layout complete, or is he still working on it, or what's the status, would you say? Is it 75% done, 100% done?
It's probably 60% done. There is a whole lower level underneath that. I think if you look at that first slide again, you probably could see that. My next task is going to be working on that lower level, but it's not going to be done to the same degree as the upper level because you can't really get down there. And most people are not going to get down on their knees and look at that.
No.
So we're going to do the front edge of it and stuff. And now there's another room, a fairly big room, that he's got a helix in so that he can connect the upper and lower levels. And on top of the helix, we're going to put if you noticed in that other, in the photos that I showed in the back corner, there was the Altoona brewery brewery complex that made by Altoona Model Works. We're moving that to the top of the helix, and it's a big circular area. I think it's probably 6 feet or bigger in diameter, and we're going to scenic that in and then connect that with the rest of the layout. How we do that is going to be done with custom made bridges that he's already got ordered. And so my job is, and we've already figured out sort of the layout of the tracks. And so my job is going to be to make that all work together and scenic it in.
Great. Are there any questions for Dennis?
Yeah, Dennis, I got a question. Steve Sherril. One of the opening scenes you had there, I think that he made a mistake right away on the layout when he doesn't have any separation of scenes. You came in and you saw the entire layout. Therefore, he was forced to have a road that ran the entire layout. He kind of boxed himself in there rather than having a shelf type layout or separate scenes, and that's why you had to end up making that road. And what era is he modeling?
Well, he's not as concerned about era. He's more of a play with your trains in a nice environment layout.
Okay.
So my modeling is more, I guess I always think about 40s and 50s, the transition.
Yeah.
That's what I see.
Yeah.
And to give you a little thing, the road that I put in, you could see that road was weathered. It wasn't black. It was discolored here and there. He wasn't really sure about that. He wanted to see it a lot darker. And his idea is to keep things really clean and neat. And there's nothing wrong with that, but that's really not my style. And so in that area, he finally came around, I believe, because I said, listen, this is an industrial road. This is a road that's used for getting to these places that you often see running along the side of a track. So that whole industrial area can be a little bit disheveled, right? And so he understood that. Now, when we do the other side of the layout, the street is a lot cleaner, a little cleaner than I would like, but it's a compromise that I make, which is fine. It's his layout. It's not my layout. And but he understands, he likes what I do. And so we agreed to disagree on a few different things, which is fine. Nothing wrong with that. As far as the shelf type thing, I don't disagree with you. It's really hard when you have a giant space that you have to fill up, and it's hard to create scenes, different scenes, but you can create areas of interest. Now, I didn't in this go around, I wasn't trying to focus on specific areas of interest, as I just wanted to give you more of an overview of everything that I did. I can come back and show the various scenes that I created. So you do have points that stop your eye. Because nobody ever looks at the whole thing from above, or like I see. You walk into a layout, what's going to happen? Your eye is going to go someplace, right? It's not going to look at everything. There's too much. Anyway, I hope that answered the question.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Dennis?
The layout, he's rescuing a layout. He's on a layout rescue.
Well, I don't call it rescue. I call it enhancement.
Oh, okay.
Okay. His layout was fine for him the way he had it, until I did what I did, and then he realized that it could look better than what he had, which is what he saw in his head. You know how you get an idea in your head and it never comes out the way you think of. Well, he just couldn't, and he didn't want to go any further than what he did. And that's why he has me coming in, and that's fine. And I love to do this stuff. So
you should secretly let me come out and put a shanty town in there. It sounds like right for that. It would be disenchantment.
Yeah, he's got a couple little areas, but it's fine. I'm having a good time. He's having a good time, and I'm giving him what he wants, and just he's got great ideas. What I told him is I'm helping him realize his vision. That's what I'm helping him do. Let's put it that way.
Well, thank you, Dennis, and we look forward to part 2. And thank you, Steve, for your comments. And we'll see you next time.
All right. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Okay, well, now we will have the New Tracks Scholarship video, and then we'll have our next segment.
The New Tracks Modeling Mentoring Scholarship is the only national scholarship for model railroaders from a volunteer nonprofit organization. For academic year 2025-26, we are awarding 4 $2,000 scholarships for model railroaders pursuing a STEAM degree. We hope to award a similar number of scholarships for the 2026-27 academic year. We believe it is critical to support the next generation of model railroaders. You can support the New Tracks Modeling Mentoring Scholarship by donating online using the Zephy platform or directly by check. All donations are tax deductible.
I don't believe we have Hank Primus. Is he out there this evening? I didn't see him.
No, he isn't.
Yeah, he's on a cruise. Well, as every week, I do encourage you to support our New Tracks Mentoring Scholarship. We are all about mentoring and promoting the hobby, and obviously youth in model railroading is critical to the long-term success of the hobby. So take a moment, several ways to donate. And as I have said in the past year, $5 or $10 won't hurt any of you. Take a moment, make that. Bob Davidson is now the treasurer. There is his address. You can write a check directly to New Tracks Modeling Mentoring Scholarship to that address. Or you could go with your phone there and scan that QR code. Or you could go on to the Zephy website. So 3 ways to do this and make a donation. And you'll be doing several things. You'll feel good about it. You'll promote the hobby, and you'll encourage youth to participate in model railroading. So next up, we've got a very interesting scratch build of a narrow gauge locomotive. We've got Dave Mallot, New Tracks mentor. He's last presented part 1 of this in July. And is he there?
Okay.
You ready?
So
Yeah. Okay.
bring up some pictures.
Yeah, he'll bring
Yeah,
up.
you might want to flip your camera around. I think you've got your cameras pushed to the back.
You're right.
There we go.
There we go.
All right, we can pop up the welcome to the show as a presenter, David. And I really enjoyed July's presentation, the scratch build, and having seen your presentation, I think everybody's going to be in for a real treat this evening. So, show's all yours.
All righty. So as I described in the part 1, when I started this, so if you want to bring up the first picture, next one. So this is the company that I'm, Argent Lumber Company is one of my favorite logging companies, and this is their number 5 engine, which is a prairie type engine, very unusual for a narrow gauge engine. Very light on its feet for very small track. So next picture. So this was my first attempt at it using a Bachmann Mogul, and I wasn't really happy with it. The boiler was too big and the wheels were too big, and it just the dimensions just didn't really fit it. So I kind of abandoned it, kept the tender, and at that time I found got a Forney, and I found a 240 that I built as a logging engine, and Then I burned out the decoder, and it sat. I went through life changes and so on. So I dragged it out about a year ago, and so next picture. I dragged it out about a year ago. This is another picture of the engine, what it looked like. Really neat engine. The old cabby stack wood burning locomotive, typical of a logging line lumber company. Next photo. So I dragged it out and started measuring the 240 and found the wheels were the right size. It was I had made that out of a forney, so I had another forney around. So this was just a mock-up to see if I liked the way it looked. The boiler was the right size, the wheels are the right size, and just the general dimensions. I used the forney cab here. So away I went. So next slide, next picture. I cut the two frames and glued them together. So I used the wood on the bottom as a straight edge just to make to line everything up right. Put some weight on it as I was gluing it. I just used epoxy. I used JB weld. Next slide. So you can see this is looking at it. It's laying on its side, and the dark line there in the middle is I Z-cut the frame so that it overlapped, and that way it would be really strong. So the dark line in the middle is, you can see where I made the Z-cut and where it's glued together. So next slide. This is just another picture of, again, you can see the dark areas just ahead of where the motor and the gear tower is. So that's where it all came together. Next slide. And this is where I put the wheels on it to see if it was all going to work out. And so I kind of missed it on the slide before. I had to file. I took a round file and actually cut into the frame. I had to change the location of one of the axles to get the wheelbase to come out right. So go ahead, next slide. Next one after. So this is where I cut the boiler down and trying to figure out how I'm going to fit the boiler on the whole thing. And on the engine, the boiler sits much higher than it does on a forney. In the back of it, I just stuck a piece of plastic in there, that black plastic hanging out the back. Just sat on top of the motor so I could get an idea of, mocking it up, how it was going to look. Next slide. So this is sort of the mock-up of everything. Cut off another section because I already had two forneys. I cut off another section of the boiler, which is sitting on the frame, or excuse me, on the rail in the back of it. I built up the what's the word I want to use? The steam chest in front for the boiler sits on. I built that up about an eighth of an inch to get the boiler up. So this is a thing where there's no written rules to do this. So in scratch building it, I just mock it up and figure out how I'm going to make it happen. And so that's this process. Next slide. And then I dug up another cab, which is a metal cab. I think this is off of a modern 440 Bachmann. I'm not entirely sure. Again, I'm mocking this up, and you can see underneath the cab is what's left of the frame that where the forney cab sat on, which is obviously not going to work, but I kind of left it on there so I could use it to prop stuff up while I'm doing the mock-up. And you can see the inside of where the inside of the boiler sits. The back head, the firebox, sits inside the cab there. So I'm thinking, wow, this is going along really good, but what am I going to do from here? So next slide. Next picture, Tom. Next one. You're going backing up. There we go. So, and I'm usually working on 2 or 3 things at a time. I work on something, get it mocked up, and try to do a couple things, and then put it back together to see how it's going to look. So here I've got a piece of brass that I've drilled out for a mock-up of a side rod. I got the rear wheels stuffed up underneath of it to see where they're going to sit, and then the bottom part of the firebox, I'm starting to file that down to see how that's all going to look. I got black plastic that's vertical. It's kind of jammed up inside the boiler at the back just to kind of hold everything together while I'm doing this. Next slide. So this is the frame, and you can see the rod. I've profiled the rod on the side of it, and I'm looking at this trying to figure out how am I going to extend the frame out the back, because as you can see, there's not much there. So it sat for a couple weeks while I debated on how to, and then I'm looking through all my scrap stuff, my brass, and trying to figure it out. Finally, I ran across a piece of brass square tubing that's, I think it was an inch. I forget. Anyway, and I looked at it and I figured that if I filed down the frame of the engine, that it would actually slide right on over it. So I started, you really can't see it here, but you can see in the back a little bit where I filed down the frame, and I'm trying to figure out how all that's going to come together. Next picture. So, yeah, right there. So these are the pieces that I'm starting to make up. The piece directly behind it is the frame extension. And I've filed down, and you can see the engine itself, the shiny part of it, right behind the wheels, and actually directly behind, I should say, underneath the wheel, where I filed it down, and this is going to slide right over top of it and catch the back just behind the motor there. There's a little tab sticking out, just enough to catch that brass. The piece behind it is describe that further, but that is going to go over the gear tower and hold the boiler. The piece directly in front of us is the mount that I have machined up, cut up to hold the back of the cab. So next photo. This shows the rear frame section in place, and you can see the screw goes down through the brass directly behind the motor and holds that frame section in place. It was part of the original frame, and luckily I didn't cut it off, and so the rest of it just slides up alongside the frame, and then I started kind of whittling out the bottom where the trailing wheels are going to go into. So this is a kind of a retake of this picture. At this point, I didn't have the wiring in there. This kind of came later, but you can see how the wiring's going up between the frame and the outside of the brass frame that I made, and up alongside the motor. It's about the only place I could figure out to push these wires up through. Next slide, next picture. So this is the upright. It's laying down, so you can see the machine work I did to it. It's square tubing that I cut open, and then on what's on the top side here is 2 pieces of 3/32 brass tubing that I have soldered onto the square tubing, and the opening there I have machined that and the 3/32 tubing, and you can see it's made a slot there. Next slide. So this is upright, and it's now sliding down over the gear tower, and also catching the. I cut back the frame of the motor, which is plastic, and this the 3/32 tubing slides right down over that frame to hold it in place. And so the whole thing will slide down. Next slide, next picture. And so this is where it's bottomed out. It's sitting right on top of the frame, and it butts up against the section of the that runs to the back of the engine, and it's quite stable. I'm not sure that and it fits pretty snug, and the boiler sits on top of it. So I'm not sure that I'm going to make it fit, bolt it down in any fashion. And I might end up boxing it to the boiler. I haven't quite decided how that's going to go yet. Next slide. So this is showing the plug that I got, which was from Soundtrax, and how the wires run. In the white plastic is just temporary pieces to hold the wires up, and so as the wires go up inside the frame there, they're going up around the motor itself. There's just enough room in there. I've made a slot, so there's just enough room for the wires to go up alongside the motor. And so I use one of the original threaded holes in the frame to run the bolt through for the rear trailing truck. And it worked out perfect. I had to make a little, take a little piece of brass tubing and then a brass washer to put on there so it would fit on there snug and rotate real nicely. Next picture. So this is the tender. It's a wood frame tender to try to keep in with the prototype. This is the other part of the electrical plug, and where you solder the wires in, and they run up to the square, the rectangular part on the right, which is where the other part of the plug, the male part, plugs into it. In the foreground is a piece of brass that I've made up that plug fits into, and the brass is glued into then the tender. You can see the notch on the tender, and just to the left of that notch, that piece of brass glues right into the tender itself. Next slide. Oops. Picture.
We just lost screen sharing for a second, and it got goofed up here on my end. I don't know what my computer decided to get ornery on me, and it threw you out. It threw you out of the slideshow mode. Don't quite know why it did that. That's what happens when you don't feed your computers well.
Or you don't have a Mac.
David, I have a question for you.
Sure.
When you cut the frame and put the two pieces together, what did you use for glue, and did you clamp that to make it a good bond?
So I use JB Weld.
Okay.
Which is basically an epoxy. And no, I just, because of it has a thickness and it's very strong. My biggest worry was to get it aligned very squarely. But it did. I didn't need to clamp it. It fit. It was a pretty tight fit. Okay. So next picture. So this is the piece of brass. I cut a piece of plastic to put on top of it just as a precautionary to make sure that I wasn't going to have any shorts on, because everything was a very snug fit, and that plug fits right on top of this. The little piece of brass tubing slides over it, and that's what the link from the tender to locomotive goes around. So this was a multi-purpose type of arrangement here. Next photo. So you can see the on the tender itself with its wires soldered in place, and the plug in place being held down with the nut and the spacer, and then the link hanging on there, and then the brass piece is the engine frame extension, and you can see where I have soldered a piece that goes across there with a stud sticking up that I have also threaded for the link to hook onto on the engine itself. Next slide. So this is with the frame extension back on the locomotive, and you can see how the wires go underneath the where the stud comes out, the cross member for the link to the tender. And you can also see the wires where they go through and then up alongside the frame of the motor. Yeah. So next slide. So this is with it all hooked together, and you can see how the link all corresponds in between the two. Very tight fit. The plug fits in there very nicely, and you can't hardly see anything when you're looking at the locomotive. Again, everything's very snug fit on all this stuff, and then you can see how tight the tender truck is to it all. So quite an endeavor. Next slide, next picture. So this is just putting the Bluenami, installing the Bluenami, current keeper, the speaker. So this is a 28 millimeter speaker with the tender pretty much open except for the Bluenami, and the current keeper it's a really nice echo chamber, has really good sound to it. You can see where the wires go forward and right down through the tender and into the plug. Next photo. So just showing it all with the wires and how it all looks with the tender tank wrapper on top of it. Next slide. Again, here's a side shot of it. So this is where I could test run it. So actually I test ran it before this, but this was just the plug and everything in place were sort of in the final, except for the wires for the lights and so on, and just to test run it, and it runs really nice. Next photo. Showing the locomotive from the back. The two black pieces of plastic where I glued them inside of the boiler, and they hang down and cover up the motor. And then the boiler, the firebox sits, because it's the same configuration, it just slides right down over the black plastic and closes it all in. And the gap in between is where the cab sits down on. So and then you can see the back piece for the cab mount, and where the plug sticks out of the back of the out of the back of the frame there. Next photo. So this is the piece for the front. Again, I used the square tubing, and just kind of started cutting it down to fit. Next photo. You can kind of see the reinforcement. So this is you can see the bottom. I drilled and tapped, and this is the bottom of the square tubing. And then as the side, I just started cutting down the sides, whittling down the sides. Well, I kind of made up a template and then whittled down the sides until I had a configuration that I was happy with. And then I cut some more square tubing and fitted inside of the frame section in the top and the front, and soldered it in and drilled holes for the front bumper, and a couple of screws right into the wood then of the front bumper bolster. Next photo. So here's a side shot of it. Came out really nice curve to it. It's a little long, but you know, it's some of the stuff you have to compromise to make it. And as long, my thing is, as I'm building this, I really wanted to have the character is what I was after. So, and there will be a little piece that will go on the top of this to kind of close in that frame section. So, and this is where it's all together, and I can actually run it in this stage. So this is when I'm test running it at one of the meets, and so in the process of sending it over, I guess we lost the sound to it, and it's a little jerky, but it runs really nice. So and
hang on, let me reshare that with sound, because when I set this up, I didn't think I had sound. So let me go ahead and share it. Hang on, actually, let me do it this way. Let me see if I can do something different.
So while you're doing that, I'll show you a picture. I've stripped it down to the bare metal and working the cab out. I made a back part of the cab. I guess you can't see that real well, but you stripped it down to the bare metal, closed off the window on the side, cut the doors out in front. So the boiler's almost ready and the cab are almost ready to paint. I still have some stuff to do to the frame of the engine itself. So, okay.
Okay.
You got it?
And play this now. Here we hang on. Let me just see. There we go.
Part way. Alrighty.
Well, nice work, David.
Thank you.
And we look forward to part 3. Does anyone have any questions for David on his scratch build?
David, what kind of tools did you use to cut that brass?
So I have a knockoff Dremel that I use. It's, you know, a junk store. I can't think what you call it. But the thin stuff in like the back of the cab, that is really thin. I just used a pair of scissors to cut that. And then I have I forget what you call them, where it pulls down and will take small pieces out of it.
Nibbler. Yep.
Nibbler, that's what I'm thinking. I had a nibbler that I used to kind of cut that out, and the rest of it I just filed.
David,
Well,
Be
it looks
careful.
great. It looks great. Can't
Thank
wait
you.
to see it painted.
David,
mean-
Pat here.
Yeah,
You did a great job on that.
thank
For the
you.
work you've done. How many hours have you put in it already?
Oh, you don't even want to know.
I would like a rough idea.
Well, I've been working on and off of it probably for about a year now. You
I
know,
believe it. I really do. But you're doing a great job. Keep
thank
it up.
you. And you know, it's a labor of love.
I know.
You know, I could have made things a lot easier. There's times when I'm cut down, you know, a 16th of an inch off because, you know, it
Yeah.
just makes it much closer. Where you could live with it if I wasn't a prototype locomotive, if you were just doing a nice locomotive. There's a lot of things I could have lived with there.
And you're only halfway when you get the railing and all the piping. That'll be really a lot of fun.
There's not a lot of piping.
Uh-huh.
The injectors, I've got it drilled for the handrails on the boiler. I still got to do the cab and the tender yet. But they didn't have any brakes. They didn't have air brakes on it. No brakes at all.
Really?
I think maybe the engine had vacuum brakes, but there was no air compressor on any of the engines.
You must have just throttled back when you were on that thing.
There weren't any vacuum brakes at that time.
No.
Log cars, well, they ran this up into the 50s. The log cars had no brakes on them, but this is in South Carolina. Everything's flat. It's like Florida. Everything's flat. So, you know, how far the car's going to go if they run away, you know?
Going downhill, you'd have to put it in reverse before you start.
So, yeah.
Nice.
Oh,
And
job.
they ran link and pin right up into the end, up into, you know, 55 or something like that. I forget exactly. 58, I think. They ran link and pin couplers the whole time because they weren't, I always forget the term where they, you know,
Knuckle coupler.
Knuckle coupler.
Public access. They could get away with that stuff.
Yeah. We can get through with a safety inspection now.
And in the end, there weren't even doors left on the cabs of the locomotives. You know that. I mean,
just curtains.
Yeah, they actually logged Georgia, and their operation was located in North Carolina. I mean, in South Carolina, but the actual logging was done in Georgia and stuff in the swamps there.
And they ran the swamps in South Carolina, and she's all kinds of strange stuff. They had a bridge that they bought that opened. That turned God, I can't think what you call it. A bridge that rotated, and that was it was a car bridge that they bought from some place and moved down the river and put it up to get across the river there to log into Georgia.
Yep.
They had another place where they crossed the standard gauge main line, double main line, and they had a turntable that they turned upside down as a bridge to go over the mainline railroads, which was, I don't know if it was ACL, I forget now which one it was, but and how they ever convinced the standard gauge to do that, I'll never know.
They might not have asked.
So, in another place, they actually crossed they had a crossing on a main line. So all kinds of really strange, interesting stuff about the company.
All right. Any other questions for David? We're looking forward to part 3, where we will see a finished locomotive and a couple engineers in there running that thing, maybe a fireman and an engineer.
I already got them. Got some printed ones. So.
Oh, great job. That's really going to be a superb model when it's done.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm up next. But before me, we're going to feature the My Build video and Mr. Chris Course.
Don't miss the monthly New Tracks Modeling My Build event. My Build is where the modelers of New Tracks show what they have been building. See amazing modeling with some My Builds featuring specific topics for modeling. If you would like to have your models included in the My Build, please email your modeling photos to Chris Course at railrunner130@hotmail.com. If you are a first-time My Build participant, please include a photo of yourself.
Chris, welcome to the show again, and
thanks, Tom. All right, so next week we have a challenge show. It's Halloween and oddities. This is usually a pretty fun show, and it's a good opportunity to show off kind of those wacky things that you have on your layout or looking to put on your layout. The submission deadline for that is October 19th, so please get those photos to me or videos as soon as you can. That way we can include them in next week's show. And this is, like I said, this is usually a pretty fun show where you see some really weird off-the-wall stuff that people just did for the fun of it. And really, we need you guys to participate in this show because without you guys participating, we've got nothing. And this is actually a really easy way to contribute and be part of the show without a whole lot of effort. So that is what we really have for tonight. Please, like the video says, please include, if you have not participated in the past, a video, or I'm sorry, a photo of yourself for your title slide and a brief description. So that way, in the event that maybe you're camera shy or whatever and can't make the show, then I can speak somewhat intelligently on your behalf. So anyway, please send those photos as soon as you can. I think I have one submission and that's it. So I really need you guys to step up and take care of this. Otherwise, we may have to look to do something else other than the My Build. So I'll turn it back over to you, Tom.
yeah, this is a really unique opportunity to participate in the My Build program. Halloween, get you little cut loose with some things, some oddities. I think 2 years ago we had a really exciting show. It was full, and we had all these goofy looking models, and anything goes really. And get into the spirit of Halloween here and do make a submission or make a diorama in a week's time. It's not a big deal, and let's keep this segment as one of our most popular. Yeah. All right, Chris. Appreciate that. Okay. Up next, I'm going to do a program here. Now, last week, I did I just did a program on small buildings, maintenance facilities, tool sheds, little structures. Now, I model 1930, and believe it or not, prior to World War II, there were really, with the exception of cities, there really weren't a lot of indoor bathrooms. I did a little research on this, which means you're going to have a little research on it. And I did a little research on toilets. And that picture there is 2,000, that toilet is 2,900 years old. Looks like something out of the Flintstones, perhaps, but the technology really hasn't changed too much. And human beings have been using them. The first ones go back to Mesopotamia 5,000 years ago, and they're basically just what they are today. And they kept them away from the houses when possible. And oops, sorry. This mouse is going to be my undoing. All the way up into the basically in the 1930s, we finally started getting indoor plumbing out in the rural areas of the country. Remember, most of the country was fairly rural prior to World War II. It was post-war that people really started moving back to the cities after the close of World War II, and the rural sanitation improved dramatically. Um, and of course, now they're pretty rare. You see them in parks and things, and you know, there's curiosities more than they're in museums. I'm going to show you some whimsical ones here, and just as a reminder of what things were like not even 100 years ago, really. We take a lot of things for granted today. Now, unlike last week where I was looking for railroad maintenance and tool facilities, buildings, there were literally thousands of photographs of outhouses. So it shows you the mindset of America, I guess. I never heard of this, but I found it. They called it the Eleanor. I guess she was the big driver of under Roosevelt to provide sanitation to rural America. And basically, they had a campaign, the U.S. government, 3 workers and $5. They could build a new outhouse in 20 hours. It just seemed kind of odd to me, so I thought I'd include it here. But these prototype photos here are typically what I like to see on my model railroad, which is, the Great Depression. These are the whimsical ones. These are landmarks now, these 2-story outhouses. I first saw these in a model railroad, where they had like the boss up top and the workers down below, and this one here have the boss and the miners here, and it just seemed kind of funny. And then when I did a search, they actually did exist. So those are somewhat whimsical. And then there's scale models of them I found on the internet. People always, I'd seen these in the past, the model railroads. I might put one of these on my mining area just for fun. Now these are some of the ones that are on my model railroad. So this is in a railroad station. So women on one side, men on the other. Everywhere along my layout, I have them. McCoy Camp. This one has an unfinished base, but that is actually on my layout. I just haven't scenic out around it. I make these out of scrap wood normally, just scrap ends. There's a couple more. The one on the right's from Shantytown. One on the left's actually from Shantytown as well. But any scrap material, and it adds a bit of realism. So I did something. I modeled one called a 3-holer, which I hadn't seen anywhere, so I thought I'd give it make something unique. So that's the finished model. I'm going to show you how I made it. It's actually a little story behind the stars and the moon. The stars are for males and the moon is for men, or opposite. The stars are for men and the crescent is for women. This one's quite elaborate. It has a stone base, a wooden deck, and it was outside of my quarry on the Rustic Buff and Old Gothic. But these are just really scrap pieces because these structures aren't very big, even a 3-holer. And those are all the components necessary to make one, a big one like this. And there's several. I had difficulty cutting this crescent moon in there. I did file it out, but this construction is really simple. If you just look at the pieces, that literally just, you've got a back. These pieces right here are for the sitting, if you will, and these are the internal walls here. They're simple little structures, particularly if you make a single. The back, I just trimmed it out. Probably went a little too heavy on the width of this. That should have been a 1x4 instead of 1x6. But again, I just put it together with scrap. And, you know, that can't be more. It's an O scale. So it's roughly 1 inch by 3 inches. These are about 1x1, which would be equal to 4 foot by 4 foot by 4 foot by 4 foot. There it is with the star and the 2 crescent moons and a little ventilation here across the top. I just made these own doors. I just trimmed them out with 1x2s and 1x4s, and I glued them in semi-open positions. This one's open for my little joke. There's a better shot. This is a 1 evening or 2 evening thing. There it is painted. This I painted with an inexpensive acrylic craft paint in green. And then I put a Hunterline dark. Actually, I used a India ink stain on this one, just a dark India ink stain, and had a nice effect. I put a poster in there, Miss America, Lucky Strike, a vintage poster from the 20s. Again, there's the finished structure. All the wood was scribed with a either a razor saw or a hand wire brush, brass brush. Give a little texture to that. There's the finished crescent moons and star. They were just sanded and filed with a very fine file. There's ventilation across the top. Other side view. There it is in the layout, so you can see the deck. Then there's a stone foundation. I actually have an access grate on the side for quote unquote maintenance. And yeah, so it does add realism to your layout to put them on there. If you're modeling from pre-World War II to the 1920s and 30s, indoor plumbing was not so prevalent, and I have them all over my layout. And yeah, so that's it.
Wait a second. Was that a guy in the women's stall of the bathroom there?
Yeah, actually, that's a mistake.
I thought maybe you're just an interloper, you know.
You know, we're very progressive at the rustic puff and old. Yeah, so anyway, I know a little off-color structure, but we're all big boys out there, so. Okay, well, I guess you're speechless on that one. So,
Hey, Tom, Steve Bittinger sent me an email with his picture a couple of years ago where he made a an outhouse on a car.
oh, yeah.
Okay, so right away I took the challenge up, and so I made one, and I don't know if we can see this. I can't. Yeah.
We're just seeing your ceiling or something right now. There we go.
So I did one, a brick one.
Oh, look at that. A brick S house.
Oh, yeah. with a comfortable, seat on the back to ride until you wait your turn, and of course, it had an open bottom, so you could just flush it, anywhere along the line when you were finished.
Right.
But sometimes it's good to have a little competition like that amongst friends. But
I like the eyeballs on the door.
well,
it would be a unique my build if we could get Chris.
I had a little Asian influence on that.
I see that. Chris, what do you think? A my build of brick S houses or?
Sure, yeah.
So anyway, that's it.
Yeah, very good. Well,
Not supposed to flush in the station, though.
right.
When I was a kid riding on the trains, I always had this sign in there that said, "Don't flush in the station."
All right. So next up, might as well keep Steve on there. We're going to do the Steve Sherril half hour of open forum. I think he has a few things in mind, a few fellow modelers lined up. So I'll just turn over to you, Steve. Welcome back to the show as a presenter. You're going to unmute yourself. Unmute. There you go.
Thank you very much again. We're going to do what's on your workbench tonight. We did this a couple weeks ago when you guys were at the narrow gauge convention, and we had a great time doing it. We have a lot of our listeners and participants doing things which we don't always hear about. So tonight, I'm going to ask you if you've got something on your workbench that you want to share. Now's the time to do it. It doesn't have to be finished. It could be an idea. It could be something that's partially done. I've done a couple of things myself. Carroll Creek was on a couple of weeks ago, and they showed something new, a GN15, and that's G scale on operating on HO track. So they sent me a few items, and if you show me a picture up there, Greg is my photo man tonight.
Okay, let me pull it up, Steve, and you tell me now. It's starting with one of your. Oh, wait a minute. Do you want me to start it with one of your videos or one of the pictures?
Yeah, start it with the video.
Okay.
What you're going to see is a video on the Lazy Susan layout that I made a couple of years ago. It rotates around, and it's got 10-inch radius. So what this demonstrates is GN15 can operate on small radius, and you can have a small layout. Now, obviously, the buildings there are still O scale, so this actually went around the first time, believe it or not. I had no clearance problems at all. And so that is a diesel from Carroll Creek, powered by a trolley car mechanism from Bachman. And that's a 9-foot hopper car. And I put sound in it. It hasn't been painted or anything yet. I'm just having a good time running it. It's got Lincoln pin couplers. Again, that's on a 10-inch radius curve. It has no problem at all. Okay, let's look at the next one. Now, here's what they sent me. This is what's called a bulkhead car. Now, this has got, obviously it's 3D printed, and you take the two parts, you place them on top of each other, with the ends on the top of the black one. And then for the wheels, and they used a passenger truck. They glued it under it, and they show us the next one. So what I wanted to do was to improve that a little bit. It looked a little thick to me with two levels glued together. And I wanted to use some wood for the bed of the area. So what I did was I went and put the next one on. As you can see here, I had, and this is another part from Carroll Creek that was a misprint. Instead of being 35 millimeters, it was 32. So they sent it to me, it wouldn't fit anything, and I kept it. And I actually had 5 of these. And so I just threw it in a pile, and I said, when I got this bulkhead car, I said, well, maybe I can use it somewhere. And I also, for the wood, I got something from Hobby Lobby, the 1/16 by 1/4 by 24. And so, if your next picture, I put this on the bandsaw. Okay, so I got a 9-inch bandsaw, and I cut the ends off carefully. And I always keep any part that I cut off, I keep. You never know when you're going to need something like this base here again. So I ended up with 5 of those. So next one, Greg, you can see now the bandsaw, of course, is going to leave rough edges like this. Obviously, you're going to have to do something with those, sand them. They almost take your hand and just flip them back and forth, and most of it comes right off. I put it on sandpaper to smooth it out. But you don't get to see those anyway, because when I put the wood on it, it covers that area. And the wood happens to be the same thickness as the end pieces. As you can see, the bed here was actually thinner. I thought that everything should be the same. So go ahead on with the next one. Now, I do this for a lot of distressing of 3D plastic. You know, there's no other way you can do this that I don't believe. And so I put that on there, that wheel, and you have to be careful on that, because it will fly off of there and catch your hand sometimes, or finger. Didn't mind, because I've already done that before, so I know how to avoid that now. But and of course, it's got a variable speed, so you don't have to just turn it on high, medium, or low. You can vary the speed on it. Go to the next one. Now you can see the bottom here. This is the base. Now, this wasn't the first one I did. This was the second or third one. So I knew that where you put the coupler pockets on, or the Lincoln pen pocket, you have to cut it down, because the piece I showed you with the with the wheels, the 2 axles, the single piece, you have to have clearance. If you use the passenger car, you get clearance because of the frame of the passenger car. It gives you enough elevation that the wheels clear, and they're in those little squares there, little rectangles. So I put 2 lengths of the wood that I had, and if you go to the next one, you can still see the end piece over here. So now I've glued them on, and you can see how rough the wood is. Now, I will now go over that with a little wire pencil and get those little burrs off of there. All right. So you can see right on to the right, the upper right, you see the wheels in the housing that I'm going to put on the bottom of this, and it'll roll real freely. But before I do that, go ahead and turn it over. Give me the next slide. Okay.
Oops. Next one.
Yeah, we'll come back to that one. So here's what I've done. You can see this one right here. It's all finished. And so you see the wood has been stretched. It looks pretty good. Pretty good there. Now, that was before I put the wheels under it, the frame. Go ahead and give me another one. We got a couple. Keep going. We got these out of order.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now, here's a guy. Well, I don't know if can we see these? I'm going to try to show the frame. We got it out of order here a little bit. Anyway.
I think that's all I've got.
Okay. Anyway, I ended up with 5 of these made. Well, it's pretty simple. I did try to stain the end pieces, the bulkheads, but didn't take. So I had to go and take that wood, the assimilated wood on the ends, and I put some Goo Gone on there, and it kind of melted that down, and then I could distress that. And so I got some other ones. I'll show that maybe on the 24th of next month for the my build. Now let's go back, and now we're going to talk about the keep going more. Another one. Okay. Yes, Carroll Creek sent me a diesel with an open cab. I had a Lionel Zoo train that I was going to get to my grandkids, but I wasn't going to give up that for them. So, and that's what it looked like when it was in the box. So I took it out of the box. It has sound. And I said, this thing looks pretty close to this G scale. And it actually works out to be 132, which is a G scale. But there are 3 or 4 scales in G scale, 129, 132, 122 and a half, and 124 is all considered G scale. The common thing there is they all run on 45 millimeter track. So that's the way that started out. Now, what I did on this, I took all the running boards off. I cut them off. All that was left was the cab, the diesel motor, and the rear end. Okay, so go ahead. Here's one that I had done before, that when I was going to do 3/8 and 40, which was 3/8 running on O scale track. I had it weathered and everything, and just lost interest, and so I put it up on the shelf. Same locomotive. Only difference is going to be the chassis is going to be different. You can see this locomotive has all the running boards on it and everything. But here it is on my big layout with this locomotive and the 2 cars. And of course, I like to do, DLIR, which is, does it look right? And I think it does look right when you put them together. That's an O scale figure there. But okay. So I'll be converting that one as soon as I get another drive unit. Okay, go ahead, next one. So here's a comparison. You can see they sit, other than the cabs, which can be changed, they sit almost perfect. They're almost the same. Now, the Lionel has sound, it has lights, and it's got a guy talking. So I like that. So what I did was, I was sitting there one day and I said, I think this thing will run on battery. I'm going to hook up a battery and see what happens. Well, I hooked up a battery and the thing ran. So obviously I'm a battery guy. So I hooked everything up. Next slide.
As the fusion glow disappeared into the blackness beyond.
After I took off what I didn't want, and you can see it's sitting on the chassis, the black part, and it's all painted. It's got the car, and so it's got a 122.5 guy sitting there. He's too big. I've got 132 guys. So go ahead on. You can see it sitting on the railroad. Looks perfectly natural. Code 100 under G scale is a pretty small rail. Okay, next one. Now we're back to a couple of guys. Now here it is. It's going to be. You're going to hear this. So it's got the sound. Now I can turn the motor off, the motor sound off, and just have the whistle and the horn, which I like. You can see the light is still covered up there, but the lights, it's got headlight and a backup light. This is all wired directly through the Lionel system, the Lion Chief. So it runs pretty slow. It got pretty good control on that. And you will see, I believe I laid down the controller, which is still in that purple and violet and all the other kind of kids colors. I'll probably just leave that there. So the switch you see there is to turn off the motor sound, but it has no effect on the bell or the horn or the guy talking. We have any more?
No, that's it for your slides, but I did bring up a couple of what's on my layout when you want to get to that part.
Okay.
Want to do it now?
Sure.
Okay. So I found this site on eBay, or a seller on eBay, called EweeGeewee, and it's all spelled with a whole lot of E's. And he sells 3D printed detail parts in O, HO, and N, but primarily HO. And I needed some more detail parts for these clinics I put on about painting with pastels. So I went ahead and ordered, for 16 bucks, I got all this stuff, which is primarily rooftop ducting kit, but it also has lots of other details. It comes really well packaged. Everything's wrapped in saran wrap, and it's on its supports. This is all the parts once I cut them all out and clean them up. Most of the pieces you see here that look kind of odd, like this, that's the rooftop ducting, but you get all kinds of other details, barrels and crates and air conditioners and smokestacks and benches, rooftop air conditioning systems, ice machines, all kinds of stuff. And he has some smaller lots of just barrels for a couple of bucks, or just air conditioners, or all kinds of stuff. But I put together a little short video about him and what I had got on my YouTube channel, Greg Cassidy's Workshop. But if you go to eBay and search EweeGeewee, it's an odd spelling, but it'll probably come up. It's just incredible value for what you get. And I thought, just since Tom had showed his outhouses, I also threw these in. This was a two-seater privy that I built a couple of years ago from a company called GC Laser. And I actually needed it because I have a diorama with a station that was up until the 1950s didn't have indoor plumbing, and my diorama is set in the 40s, so I needed something there, and that's roughly where they had a privy. It wasn't exactly like that, but that was a good representation of it. Okay, that's it.
Greg, I have a question for you.
Yes.
What kind of quantity did they have packaged when you bought a package of them? What kind of quantity? Was it 10 pieces?
It depends on what you're talking about. There was like one ice machine, but something like 25 air conditioners, and some. I didn't really count all the parts. I know there were about 30 little vent fans that you can put in windows. Probably about 20 to 30 pieces of rooftop ducting, plus a bunch of elbow bends and stuff like that. There were, golly, maybe 30 different types of smokestacks, plus some masonry ones, maybe about 10 to 12 of those. And some other odds and ends too. But if you, I'll type the name in the chat so that people will be able to copy that. And if you go to eBay and look for this company, you'll see all kinds of stuff. I already had 4 replies on the video, and I just put it up yesterday from people who said they've ordered from him.
Yeah, Steve, I was about to tell you, I know him very, very well. That is who I got and still do all of my in-scale roof detail parts from. He will, if you want a specific thing where I wanted a whole lot of just the air conditioners, he printed those up for me and gave me a deal on just one single part. So even though he will ship you, you know, kind of grab bags of all kinds of things, if you wanted just barrels or just this or just that, he will do that. And if also you see on his eBay site the O-scale roof corbels, that was actually what he and I designed for Howard Zane, and is what Howard is using on each and every one of his O-scale buildings right now from that same guy. He's wonderful.
Wow. Well, can you give us any idea of a price for some of this stuff?
Cheap.
Okay, I like that. I mean, I'm a budget model railroader myself, and I know, Doc, you are.
Yeah, some of his collections, you know, if you just want maybe 10 of something, it could be $2 or $3.
Yeah.
Price does go down the more you purchase.
Yep.
And like I said, if you send him a message and say, hey, I want to buy 100 of these, he's very, very fair.
Okay, very good. Very good. By the way, anybody who wants to see a very nice GN15 layout on YouTube, a gentleman by the name of Bob Roget has what he calls a low cost layout where all the buildings are made with cardboard and paper. All the engines are kit bashes. Very nicely done. All the cars are balsa wood. Bob Roget, Roegge is the last name. If you look it up on YouTube, he's got a nice video. Anyone else doing anything on the workbench?
Surely somebody does.
Bill Davis, you're not doing anything on your workbench? Are you still here?
I'm still here. Yeah, I don't have anything that I can show off at the moment right now, but yeah, I just picked up a kit from Jim King on building a Seaboard B7 turtleback boxcar, which is all 3D printed, the whole thing. So I haven't started working on that yet, but that's the most recent thing I've got going on. And
Okay.
things. But, other than that, and I've been converting a HO scale station kit from Walther's at the Milwaukee station into a sort of model of the Mount Royal station in Baltimore, Maryland, for my friend down the road here that's an HO modeler. So,
have you started that kit?
Yeah, I've modified it quite a bit already, but I don't have any pictures of it available right now. I just wasn't realizing this was going to be on here, and I would have pictures available to show off what I've done so far. But it's a total different look on the thing. The actual station that is stone and this one's brick, but my friend just wants the feel of the thing, so I'm putting the tower and the hip roofs and stuff like this that are different from the kit. So
you got a picture of it available?
Gee,
or not? You don't. I mean, if you don't,
from here, I can't do it from here right now.
Okay.
Let me see. Wait, hold it. Maybe I have it on my phone here. Hang on, just 1 second here.
I always like to see when you talk about a kit, what you know.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see.
And will you build it as the kit is, or you?
Oh no! It's modified heavily. Let's see. That's not going to work. No, I don't have that going.
No, okay, all right.
I can maybe do that next week. We'll see. I'll maybe put a picture or two up of it. Like I said, I wasn't prepared for this.
Well, always be prepared when you come on, because
You never know.
you absolutely do not.
Right.
Your interest may be piqued,
That's
a little
right.
bit.
That's right. Right.
But
I've got a project coming up. I've been talking about with Bill about across the road from me where I work. There's a shotgun house, and it's pristine. But when I get done with building a model of it, it will not be a pristine model.
Okay.
So that's coming up as a build along.
I've been getting a lot of things on YouTube about locations of Caboose B&Bs, where you stay in cabooses.
Yeah.
I'm getting them, at least one a day now, so they must be all over the country with these things. I stayed in one in Pennsylvania many years ago.
When my wife and I was traveling the country, we were in Dunsmuir, California, and in Dunsmuir they have a hotel type of thing where they have nothing but cabooses, and they're all like where you stay in the caboose.
Yeah,
we didn't do it, but they had it all out there, and
yeah, I know.
and a really nice Willamette too.
Steve Vinegar's looking for a caboose right now to put one in town here. They want to do that. It's kind of interesting to stay in one. But when you think about, a lot of the cabooses were what, 34 feet long?
Something like that.
And if you're sitting in your family room, and my family room is 20 feet long, I'm thinking, my gosh, this thing is, a pretty good living in a 34-foot area. But yeah.
My town several years ago bought a caboose from a guy in South Carolina who had it set up for a fishing cabin on a lake, and he passed away, and so they sold it to us, and we restored it back to what it looked like when the North Fork Southern owned it and stuff like this. I spent about 4 years doing the interior of it.
Oh wow,
I'm a retired. Yeah, I'm a retired carpenter, and so we spent about. I didn't do it full time. But yeah, so.
I like that diesel in your background there. That looks like a GN15 potential.
No, yeah, it is potential. It's a Plymouth, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and stuff.
Wow.
So that's what I've got going on.
Okay, we got anybody else that wants to discuss what's on your workbench? How about train shows? Anybody got a train show this weekend? We're coming up in the train show season.
Yeah, we have a train show in Woodstock, Ontario.
Oh, yeah.
This coming Sunday.
Show the picture again. We don't have the picture on.
Who was that? Yeah, that was kind of cool.
We don't have the picture.
David Mallot. David's showing a picture of his trees.
Am I showing up?
Yeah, you're showing up. Yeah, there you are.
Okay.
Nice job on the building tree.
I don't have anything on my workbench, but this is a module, a river scene, Florida river scene that I'm in the process of building.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, cool.
Wow. What are those trees? Are those castings or something?
I made them out of wire, house wire, and then I put basically body filler over top of them, and took a rough sandpaper 40 grit and a wire brush and just brushed them to do that. And then I'm going to make wire branches separately to and drill them and put them in.
Is that going to be a swamp scene?
Yes, exactly.
Pumpkin stems gave you a very nice base with that tree trunk.
Yeah.
And just
about that.
Very nice. You can pick them up any place that's selling pumpkins for Halloween. Just go and get them. Pick them up.
So this building, maybe I'll do a my build on this. This is one that a buddy of mine had, and it was painted all brown. He passed away, and I ended up with it.
Wow.
Didn't like it, so I took these are stir sticks that I took Indian ink and alcohol and stained them and put on here, and took 80 grit and kind of feathered them out for the weathering, so all the doors open and close on it.
What size is the module?
I like that.
8 foot by 32, I think is what it is. Yeah. Most of their modules are only 6 feet, but you know, I want to have plenty of room to do something. Yeah. So anyway.
Now, is that a part of a club?
Yeah, I'm with the Modular Club. We meet at the Volusia County Fairgrounds in outside of DeLand, Florida. 4 times a year, every 3 months. The club is actually out of Jacksonville. They have an HO club up there, First Coast Model Railroad, and then they have a modular ON30 group, and they come down here to DeLand to put up, and I ran into them. I'm the only one in this area, so I hook up with them when they come down here.
Wow.
Yeah, I'll go up there. We'll have 75 by 20, sometimes much bigger than that. You know, and we'll run anywhere from 2 to 7 trains at a time. It's all DCC except for me. I'm doing Blue Nami. I'm converting some of the other guys now into Blue Nami. Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to show. I happen to have the same figure. If you can show me. I got a 132 and an O scale figure. You can see the difference in the size between the two. I don't know if you can see it. I can't see it.
You're off screen.
Yeah, they're not in front of your camera, Steve.
Move it over to your left a little bit.
In front of your face a little bit. There you go. A little lower, lower.
See, I don't see me on the camera, so
There it is.
same guy, quite a bit bigger.
How many of you guys are familiar with Ian Fangers from Australia?
I am.
You are, I know.
Yeah, I think all of us that were up at Harrisburg are.
He was on this program once before, Tom.
Yeah, okay. Well, I just ordered 12 and received them, 12 figures in O scale from him. They're each one a fine piece of artwork. I mean, they're absolutely stunning.
You know, he's a tremendous artist too. He's not only painting figures.
Yeah.
He does paintings. I mean, he's a, you know, he was highly educated for that.
We ought to get
art school.
Getting him back in the show.
Yeah, that'd be nice. That'd be real nice. I like that.
All right.
So anyway, that little venture to GN15, I'm interested. Here's one of the cars that was completely finished. I don't know what you can see because I can't see me. That's one that's finished and stained and all that kind of stuff. Look better than just the stock one.
Very nice.
Anyway.
Stu here. I just emailed you some pictures. I don't know if it's something you can do tonight or just another night. It's of HO sawmill interior parts.
Yeah, I saw them. I thought maybe I'd contact you and maybe we could do a little segment on that maybe as early next week or two. Are you?
Yeah.
We're about the end of the night here.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll be calling you, or Phil, our producer, will be calling you, but I'll be happy to put together a PowerPoint on those. That sawmill is what I saw, yeah? I think it was a sawmill.
Yeah. And I can also include pictures of the whole layout. I don't know if any of you know of Bob's Photo. He supplies old black and white pictures of everything. He does a lot of the train shows around the country, or he used to. But he's doing a layout of a sawmill paper mill in New Hampshire, and I built a lot of the buildings for him.
Oh,
And
wow.
scratch build. It's a pretty awesome layout, and he's just sent me some pictures. He doesn't do internet at all, but he told me I can go ahead and show off his stuff for him.
Maybe you're around tomorrow, I'll give you a buzz. Or Friday.
One of the, let's see.
Just email me with
Yeah.
when you're
Okay, so do.
talk. I'm pretty free the next 2 days. I've been traveling pretty extensively the last 3 weeks, but I'm back in Indiana. Well, okay. Thank you, Mr. Sherril. Spectacular job as usual. And that concludes our show. We're going to have the traditional closing with Father Ron, and then we're going to have our caboose. And Phil, if you'd like to take it from here.
Almighty God, just as our models imitate the beauty of your creation, may we imitate your kindness and generosity to us in our relationship with others. Bless us now and always. Amen.
Thank you, Father Ron, master modeler yourself. And Phil, do we have a caboose? Tell us a little about this, Phil, while we're zooming through here at light speed.
This you could see it from the beginning. This is an HO layout. It's the Milwaukee Road in Montana. So I tell from the scenery. But
really nice.
It was nice. The fascia was well done with the tracks and lots of trackage, obviously.
Next
Phil, that's N scale.
N scale, right. So I just realized it was N scale.
Next time, only one cup of coffee.
Yep.
That's really spectacular.
That's a nice layout.
It really is.
It was a very nice layout.
Beautiful.
No, these trestles were pretty amazing.
Wow.
Look at that.
Nice backdrop.
Go back to N-scan.
Well, see how much you can model.
Yeah, just amazing.
And look how decrepit that looks, Tom. You could
right up
really go crazy.
Right up my alley, slums, everything. That's too neat.
Operator's desk.
And that was that station that he was in RMC.
Nice. Did you take photos of that one too, Phil?
Yeah, no, that was both.
Oh, okay. That was really something.
It was a great layout. It was a very cool layout.
Okay, well, that concludes our show. I want to thank Phil. Phil is stepping up in the producer's role and taking some of the stress of producing this weekly show off of me, and I really appreciate that. It sometimes gets a little overwhelming. And I hope you're enjoying the New Tracks Modeler magazine. I continue to get emails from our subscribers telling me how much they like it. And if you have any suggestions on things you'd like to see in the new digital magazine, this is I think November will be our 5th issue approximately. Let me know. And before we close, I had a conversation with Steve Sherril and Steve Bittinger today, and they had a open house on their layouts, and another gentleman that we know. And there were some youth that actually went to I think he said roughly 40% of the visitors to his layout were, let's say, in their 30s or 40s or less. And they had a couple comments, and they were familiar with New Tracks modeling, which was exciting for me. And they wanted to see 3 things came to mind, 3 takeaways. More presented, in our segments, youth people like Doc, for example, Doc Lovelace, people of that age. They'd also, interesting enough, would like segments on tools, the tools that we use for our modeling. So a lot of us have been doing this for so long that we take for granted all our little tricks and tools and clamps and saws and all this little stuff. But and that would extend to glues and paints and things for modeling. So we don't really do a lot of that. We haven't, about a year ago, we did a little on glues and things, but any of you guys out there that would like to do one on tools, that would be wonderful. There's all kinds of directions you could go there. And yeah, so that was more or less the upshot of the whole thing. So we're trying to drive new and fresh material. So if you have any friends that have not been on the show, or if you haven't presented yourself, consider doing one on something that's second nature to you, the tools we use in model railroading. So with that, Bios con Dios, Auf Wiedersehen. We'll see you next week.